All right, this is going to go through how to add text to your, or different features of text and how to add text to your skill builder 4. So you're going to open it up from wherever it is. If you saved it on Gravit Designer, then you'll open it up from here, or you'll go and you'll upload it from your computer if that's where you saved it. Okay, so go ahead and open it up. I'm going to open mine. Okay, so right now you have the skull. We're going to get to this point. We'll get to the first part of it. So I'm just going to make that page invisible for the moment, and I'm going to add a new one. So to do that, click on Create New Page. It's going to add it in there. And then if you only want to see that page, if it's just easier to work that way, you can toggle this off, and then you'll only see that one. All right, now, when we're working with text, we've got on the top, we have this T right here, the text tool. When you click on it, two different ways that your text can kind of take form as you're putting it on in your artboard. So first way that I want you to do is just click down once. All right, that's going to give you some text that's already there. That's going to, it defaults and puts it in. You're going to type in something. All right, your font you can change. I used this font when I was demoing earlier, and so it defaults to coming back to that. So yours will probably look different than mine. Then to change the font, you're just going to double click on this, and then we've got appearance over here, and we've got some options for how the appearance is going to look on for the font. So what you can do is just scroll through here and find a font that you find interesting. It's got lots of different options here, so go ahead and you can choose one. I'm going to stick with the one that I have, but I want you to choose a different one than the default. All right, and what's cool about this is it's, in order to change the size, you can just go here and see the two double arrows. I'm on the right side, and I can just drag up, and that's going to change the size of the whole thing. Okay, if you pull on this, it's going to do something different. So use the font size change right here. All right, and then your fonts, all the fonts are a little bit different. Some will have some other options like italics or thin or bold. So it depends on the font that you choose. But this does not, because that's not how the font works. You can do underline, strike through. You can change the alignment of how it aligns. Spacing. So we'll play with some of those later. And if you're doing some kind of effect where you're maybe overlaying it on top of something else, you can change opacity or blending mode as well. And then to change the color, you're going to click on this, and you can choose any color that you want. Through here, you could also, sometimes they give you the option to do a gradient, which they aren't in this, but with our next video that I'm going to go through, I'll show you how you could add a gradient to your font if you wanted to. Okay, so that's one way to do it. This is really great for titles, headlines, anything that's short and it kind of on its own. Now, if you're creating a body of text where it's going to wrap around, so it's more than one sentence, or maybe your sentence is wrapping around, then we're going to add the text in a different way. So we'll still go back to the text tool here, and this time we're going to click and drag, and that's going to create a defined area where the text is going to go. All right, so once again, it shows up there, and you can just type anything you'd like into here, and you can see that it's going to wrap around. All right, then, so some of my text got cut off, so I can click on the corner here, and I can just drag, and that's going to reshape the space that my text is going to fit into. Generally, when you're working with text that wraps like this, or body text, you want something that's a little bit easier to read. So go ahead and choose a different font. I'm going to choose something that's not quite as thick as the one that I had. So you choose a font that you'd like to put in there. I'm going to add this one for now. All right, and then you've got some options. So this time it makes a lot more sense as far as like your justification, how it's going to arrange in there. So you can choose an alignment that way. And then we'll talk about spacing a little bit later. You can play with this if you want. But what you have to do is you have to select your text first. And then it can space out the text if you want it to. I'm going to leave it at 0. It can also space out your words. Okay, so character is going to space out each individual letter. Word is going to space out in between your words. And then, yeah, that's what we'll leave at that. Ooh, this is kind of a funny thing that showed up there. All right, so that's how that body text works. Next, I'm going to show you how you can have your text follow something. So we're going to start. I'm going to do a brief intro to the pen tool. So if you click and hover over here, this is our pen tool. And it gives you a little example of how it works. That's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to click on it. And rather than closing the path, so I was giving a demo where it looped around and closed the path. I just want you to do an open path. So click down once. That's going to make a point, your anchor point. I'm not clicking and dragging at all because that's going to do something different. I'm just clicking down once, moving my cursor, clicking down again. That creates another anchor point and then a pivot point. And I want you to just kind of do a shape where it goes up and down. And then once you get to the end, you can double click and that's going to stop or end your line that you made. All right, so you can have, I'm going to go back to the selection tool, the pointer tool. You can have a stroke on this. In this case, the border, they're calling it a border, is going to be black, okay? Or you could choose white. Or you could choose no fill. All right. Okay, because I made it white, it's the same color as my page in the background. So I just have to hover over it to find it. And then I'm going to go back to borders. I'm going to choose a color. And then if you don't want to see it, essentially your no fill would be taking off the eye. Okay, so then it's still there. It's just, there's no color on it. Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to go back to the text tool, and then we're going to find where that line is. And wherever you click, that's where it's going to start the text. Okay, so here you can see it started. It's hard to see it because we don't have the whole line taken up. But once I start typing, it's going to follow it. It's just thinking about it. There we go. So it's following that shape that we had. And then if you wanted to change your line, you could find it and click it. And then you could add on the stroke here. It's over here. I just saw it show up. You could add a line there if you wanted to. Okay, so if I turn that on, then the line's going to show up. So you get to decide if you want that there or not. All right, we're going to do one more type of path that it's going to follow. This time I want you to make an ellipse, perfect circle. So hold shift. And same thing, you're able to have the fill show up or not. So I'm going to add a fill for the moment. And then we'll go to our text, the T. You just want to get it. So I'm going to actually choose a different color so you can see this a little bit better. Let's try this. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to come with the T. You can see when I hover right on the edge, it gets this pink little line going around it. That means it's going to start, it's going to add that text there. So you want to think about where you want the text to start. So that's where wherever your cursor lands, that's where it's going to start. So when I click, it adds the text here. And then you're able to change this as well. So you can have it go around part of the way. This little red dot here, that is going to allow you to change where it starts on here. So I could flip it around and have it start in a different spot. That's the same with this one up here. It's got that same little starting point on there. So you could slide it and have it move around. And then with this, you have some options as well. Okay, with your options, it's going to default to the outside. Okay, so when I just click on it, we can see it has it on path and it has outside. If we click on that, that'll take it off the outside and flip it to the inside. You can also reverse your text so it goes a different way. All right, I'm going to move this back. And then